It would seem that a socialist system and speed, luxury, and sports cars have nothing in common. Yet, even within the Socialist Bloc, such cars did exist. Built quite literally from whatever was available, the cars created by Heinz Melkus became the only true sports cars of East Germany, and the only ones in the Socialist Bloc approved for use on public roads. Their story is a rare and largely forgotten chapter in the automotive history of socialist Europe. Heinz Melkus was born in 1928 in the German city of Dresden. After the war in the late 1940s, he began working as a delivery truck driver for one of the city's breweries. But his true passion was racing. In his free time, driven by a love of speed, Melkus regularly appeared at racing events and often returned with trophies. In 1950, he founded his own private driving school, which became his main source of income. His involvement in motorsport did not fade away. Together with like-minded enthusiasts, Melkus began building open-wheel racing cars. In East Germany, private commercial activity was possible if it was considered socially useful, and in such cases, it could receive a degree of state support. However, Melkus faced a fundamental obstacle. He did not join the Communist Party, which effectively cut him off from full-scale funding. As a result, the development and construction of his cars were carried out largely at his own expense. The organization was named the GDR Racing Car Production Center. Wartburg vehicles served as donors for major components. Their simple two-stroke engines were easy to tune and proved to be quite reliable. In 1959, the center was renamed Heinz Melkus KG. Melkus was often compared to the Italian Carlo Abarth, who also built racing cars in small series. Heinz even acquired an ironic nickname, the Abarth of the East. Cars built by Melkus regularly achieved podium finishes in international competitions, and he himself won the East German National Championship 3 times, in 1960, 1967, and 1968. By the late 1960s, Melkus's open-wheel racing cars with two-stroke engines were rapidly becoming outdated. It was then that he began to consider building a sports car that could be legally driven on public roads. The idea bordered on utopian, and the GDR's Central Commission for Automobile Sport initially rejected the proposal. Melkus, however, found an unconventional solution. In 1969, East Germany was preparing to celebrate its 20th anniversary, and he proposed creating a symbolic gift for the country, a sports car fully designed and built within the GDR. In return, Melkus set a key condition of his own. The car had to receive official approval for use on public roads. In the end, permission was granted, albeit with a number of serious restrictions. To purchase the car, one had to be a member of the GDR Automobile Racing Association and obtain its approval. Such permission was far from automatic. Only successful drivers with an impressive record of victories were eligible. The new car was named Melkus RS 1000. The letters RS stood for Rennsport, or racing sport, while the number 1000 referred to the engine's displacement. This time, the state unexpectedly stepped away from its usual principles and decided to support a non-party constructor. Major GDR factories were brought into the project. The car was based on a steel frame from the Wartburg 353, to which fiberglass body panels were attached. Notably, these panels were not produced at the Trabant plant, where plastic-bodied cars were built in series, but at the Rober factory, which specialized in trucks and buses. The shape of the RS 1000 clearly echoed Porsche and Ferrari influences, yet there was no direct copying. Moreover, the state took part in the design process as well. The Academy of Fine Arts was involved in shaping the car's appearance. Behind the driver sat a heavily modified engine taken from the same Wartburg 353. The 3-cylinder, 2-stroke air-cooled engine with a displacement of 992 cubic centimeters in its standard form was equipped with a single-barrel carburetor from the Czech company Gikov and produced 50 horsepower. Heinz Melkus replaced the single carburetor with 3 motorcycle carburetors from Jawa and installed a more efficient exhaust system, increasing output to 75 horsepower. With this engine, the lightweight car, weighing around 750 kilograms, was capable of reaching speeds of up to 175 kilometers per hour. Alongside the standard road-going version, a racing variant was also offered. Its key difference was a Wartburg engine tuned to 90 horsepower. The additional 15 horsepower came from the use of scarce Italian Weber carburetors. Combined with a reduced weight of 680 kilograms, thanks to side windows made from clear polycarbonate and suspension components made of light alloys, the car's top speed exceeded 200 kilometers per hour. The gearbox was also taken from the Wartburg, but modified by adding a fifth gear. Unusually, this gear was positioned between second and third. Much depended on the driver's skill, because a mistake accidentally engaging second gear instead of fifth could have very unpleasant consequences. In rare cases, Melkus cars were fitted with other engines as well, including four-cylinder, four-stroke units from the Lada and the Moskvich. One car even received a 2-liter engine from a BMW 2002. How it found its way into East Germany remains unknown, but the fact itself is well documented. Due to constant shortages of materials, many components were borrowed from other cars produced across the Socialist Bloc. The braking system, for example, was taken entirely from the Polski Fiat 125P, with disc brakes at the front and drum brakes at the rear. Moreover, because of chronic shortages, even the so-called production Melkus cars, if they can really be called that, often used whatever suitable parts could be obtained. Quite literally anything was pressed into service. A chain from a bathtub drain plug could serve as a hood restraint, and rear-view mirrors were often taken from motorcycles, and sometimes even from bicycles. And now to the most important question, the price. The car cost 30,000 Deutschmarks, which by GDR standards was extremely expensive. For comparison, a Trabant cost around 9,000, while a Wartburg was priced at roughly 16,000 Deutschmarks. In other words, the Melkus RS 1000 was priced on par with a solid Western car, such as a Volvo 240. Production ran from 1969 to 1980. During that period, exactly 100 enthusiasts decided to purchase a Melkus RS 1000, bringing the total production run to 101 cars, one of which Heinz Melkus built for himself. Is that a lot or a little? 101 cars over 11 years. It depends on perspective. For large-scale industry, it is not even a production run, but a statistical error. But for a small, semi-handcrafted workshop, operating purely on enthusiasm, and constantly struggling with shortages of parts, 101 cars, or an average of about 9 cars per year, no longer seem quite so insignificant. By the early 1980s, the company's situation was already far from healthy. In 1973, a roadster for circuit racing was built on the basis of the RS 1000 Coupe. The car remained a one-off. Its design clearly echoed that of its main rival, the Skoda Spider 728S. The two-stroke carbureted Wartburg engine was tuned to 110 horsepower, but the fundamentally outdated power unit was no longer capable of delivering competitive results. Even so, motorsport never disappeared from Heinz Melkus's life or from the company itself. He continued to compete as well as to build and maintain racing cars for other drivers, despite the increasingly difficult circumstances. In 1977, a new racing car appeared under the name SRGMT-77. The abbreviation SRG stood for Socialist Racing Community, while the letters MT referred to the car's two creators, Heinz's son Ulrich Melkus and racing engineer and constructor Helmut Tussler. The car was produced in very small numbers until 1985. After that, the Melkus company quietly wound down its core activities. For some time, it continued to service and repair its own racing cars and supercars. But after the reunification of Germany, this activity also came to an end. The year 1990 became a tragic turning point for the Melkus family. Ulrich Melkus was killed in a car accident, and after that, Heinz Melkus withdrew completely from motorsport. That same year, he established ties with BMW, becoming one of the first dealers of the Bavarian brand in the former East Germany. At that point, it seemed reasonable to assume that the story of Melkus had come to an end. Paradoxically, the chance for the brand's revival came with the death of its founder. Heinz Melkus passed away in 2005, and already in 2006 his descendants, Sepp and Peter Melkus, announced the return of the brand. In the mid-2000s, Around 15 updated examples of the classic Melkus RS 1000 were assembled, after which the decision was made to develop an entirely new car, a spiritual successor to the original model. The Lotus Elise platform was chosen as the basis. Nearly 3 years passed from the first sketches to a running prototype, and the new Melkus made its debut at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 2009. The design clearly referenced the classic model, and the defining feature of earlier Melkus cars was preserved: gull-wing doors. The RS 2000 featured Elise's aluminum space frame, independent suspension, and braking system, along with a 1.8-liter four-cylinder engine paired with a 6-speed manual transmission. With a curb weight of around 950 kilograms, the car accelerated from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 4.5 seconds. Unlike the Spartan Elise, the new Melkus offered a more generous level of equipment, but it also cost nearly twice as much, at around 100,000 euros. Sales remained extremely limited. In an attempt to raise the brand's profile, Melkus turned to motorsport. Racing versions of the RS 2000 were built for FIA GT competition, but reliability issues and modest performance prevented racing from becoming an effective promotional tool. Even the later, more powerful turbocharged GTS version failed to change the situation. In the summer of 2012, Melkus entered bankruptcy proceedings. Over 3 years of production, only around 40 RS 2000 cars of all variants were built, and attempts to attract a major investor were unsuccessful. Thus, a brand with more than 50 years of history faded into the past, forever securing its place as the only supercar from the Socialist Bloc approved for use on public roads. Of the 101 classic Melkus RS 1000 cars produced, 66 are known to survive today. All of them are held in private collections, with current market values ranging from 50 to 110,000 euros.
Zweimal eine halbe Stunde wurde trainiert. Es ging hierbei nicht darum, am Schluss vorn zu sein.